as a reporter covering the 69 Mets, and then later the Islanders, doing the play-by-play for them in their championship Stanley Cup years. I had the pleasure of being around, and I've been around for the last 30 years covering sports. So I think today's kind of a very unique and special day when Chase honors the 100 athletes and people involved in the media, involved in sports for the last 100 years. It's a kind of a special tribute to so many people from a variety of sports, and as you'll see in just a moment, a little later from Bill Shannon, we'll tell you a little bit more about it. Also, Chase has produced something that is very exciting, and I hope many of you have picked up this guide. This is the Sports Almanac record book that Chase has produced, and it's being unveiled today to coincide with the publication of this new Sports Almanac and record book. It's a comprehensive source of both the past and present New York sports information, and of course it is sponsored by Chase. And the Almanac, I went through it, you get a chance, is very, very comprehensive. It includes schedules, statistics, ticket information for all the metropolitan area pro teams, as well as 26 principal college teams. It goes from A to Z. You've got Delphi leading off. It's down to Yale up in Connecticut as well. And it also has very important information about the U.S. Open, the Belmont Stakes, the Hambletonian, the NIT, and the New York City Marathon. And the Almanac is an exclusive bank product, by the way, of Chase, and will be distributed to a limited number of high-value consumers as small business customers beginning this week. So take the chance. If you haven't picked one up, there are several back at the table. So we're going to get started with our program, and as I said, it is going to be a very special day for a lot of the honorees who are here today. You'll have a chance to meet them, and also there'll be an opportunity for a photo opportunity on the stage. And following that photo opportunity, I just want to remind you, newspaper and radio and TV guys, that there will be an opportunity for one-on-ones back in the room beyond the doors there. So you'll have plenty of a chance to do one-on-ones and also do whatever pictures you need. Right now, it is a pleasure to introduce our host for today, Mr. David Nolan, who is the Senior Vice President of the Chase Manhattan Bank, and David will make a few welcoming remarks to you.
Thank you very much, Barry, and welcome to all of you. Just let me take a moment to say how delighted we are to be participating in the Sports 100 selection and to have many great athletes here today to visit with you. And this effort started as a small seed, as great ideas generally do, and grew very quickly thanks to the participation of a number of well-known sports writers and broadcasters in the Metro New York area, and my colleagues here at Chase. So this is a pretty big thing for a guy who grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and New York was a long, long way away, and so we kind of looked at Boston for our sports figures. But because I've lived and worked in New York now for almost 15 years, I do have a deep appreciation for all of the athletes whom you're going to meet today and those who could not be with us. The Chase Sports 100 have been selected as the 100 most important sports figures. Of course, we expect that will be arguable and discussed much around the metro area. And we're making those selections, as Barry mentioned, in conjunction with the release of the 2001 edition of the New York Sports Almanac and Record Book, which we're proud to sponsor for the second year in a row. So, on behalf of my colleagues all around the world, there are now 90,000 of us, with the inclusion of our new colleagues from J.P. Morgan and Company, with whom we will merge on the first business day of 2001. Thanks very much for being here today and participating in this event. Barry?
Thank you, David. Right now, it's a pleasure to introduce a guy that you probably have a lot of questions for. A lot of ball players have had questions about his decisions as an official scorer over the years. I've known Bill Shannon back in the days when he was sports information director at Columbia University and did a great job in that capacity. And a lot of you as colleagues know him as a guy who's got his pencil along with the red Foleys and telling you what's a hit and what's an error at all the ballparks. He's a guy that has put a lot of time and energy into this particular project, and it is a pleasure right now to introduce Bill Shannon, who is the president of the New York Sports Museum and Hall of Fame. Bill?
The questions that the ball players ask merely indicate that they do not understand the scoring rules in the major leagues. However, the questions you guys might ask today, I will certainly try to answer. And very shortly, we will be introducing the honorees, who are really the stars of today's show, because we're here to really honor the members of the Chase Sports 100, which is a unique group of people who have impacted the fans and the lives of millions of people in the New York area, many of them many years ago in a survey that goes back to 1901. The Chase Sports 100 is simply, as David had indicated, the 100 most important people in New York sports in the 20th century. Exactly how you define 100 is one of the things that made this kind of fun. It's sort of like baseball's version of the MVP. Nobody exactly knows what a most valuable player is, but they pick one every year anyhow, and then we all argue about it. Why was it Jeff Kent and not Barry Bonds, for example? The list here of the Chase Sports 100 includes not only athletes, but also owners and executives, officials, sports writers. Although Tom Keegan did not make it, we expect him to be on it for the next century. Sportscasters and others who've been involved in the New York sports scene in the fabulous century of New York sports that was the 20th century. And incidentally, just as a footnote, we had pointed out last year in the Almanac that this year was actually the last year officially of the 20th century, since there's no year zero in the Christian calendar, that the year 2000 is the last year of the millennium, not the first year of the new millennium, and that's another thing that people can argue about. But that's our position anyhow. The Chase Sports 100 was commissioned by the Chase Manhattan Bank as part of the New York Sports Almanac and Record Book, as David pointed out, and the full list is included in the book, and those of you who haven't picked one up, please make a point to do so. In addition to which you will find a compilation of statistics, records, history, chronology, the biographies of 30-some-odd prominent New York sports figures in the book, and sort of reflects the totality of what New York sports is about. And it was kind of in the spirit of that totality that the Chase Sports 100 was selected. That's one of the reasons why it includes people who are not necessarily athletes. In any case, I think that there are a lot of people who drew consideration and did not make this list. And I know I was kind of surprised some of my personal favorites didn't get on the list. And even though I was on the committee with people like Phil Simms, Sam Huff, Bill Rogers, Eamon Coughlin, Maria Bueno was one of my favorites, Tony Lazzari. There are many more, and I think you can argue about whether or not they belong there, but I think this probably should have been expected, since we estimated there was something like 500,000 people who were eligible for this list. And I know earlier today we were talking about this, and I pointed out that since 1925, which is as far back as their records go, Columbia University has had over 1,200 lettermen on its football team. And at one time we had something like 11 or 12 major college football teams in New York City. And they were, in fact, NYU, Fordham, Army, Columbia, St. John's, Brooklyn College, City College, Manhattan. When Manhattan played in Ebbets Field, they were all big stories. But I think at this point, if you have any questions, I'd like to take them now because we need to move on to introduce the honorees. So if there are any questions, going once, going twice, terrific. Tell Dave Nolan that our explanation was overwhelming and no one has any questions. So those of you who might want to take a group picture of the honorees, we're going to ask all of them to stand and just take a picture of them if you would like. And however you want to organize them. But we would like to move this along, so let's do it as quickly as we can, so we have a little time for one-on-ones in the back. Yeah, I think so. You guys could just stand up here yeah.
This is for the media only, folks. I know we have some of our guests who've arrived early, but you'll have your opportunity a little bit later.
TV cameras are going to need it too.
I'd like to alert the members of the media, TV and newspaper and radio people in particular. All of our honorees here today will be available for one-on-one interviews in the back room. They're set up there, so if you want to move your cameras and get set up, all the honorees up here in the Fab 13 will be available for one-on-ones. As soon as we finish this photo session.
Well, I would do it, yeah. Why don't you have your guy do one?
Thank you, Dan. Just hang tight for 1 second. Okay. Anybody there for a shot? If we could, Joe. Hey, Joe. Joe, we get a shot.
I don't know where he went. No, David didn't want it. He had other things to do, or maybe he's just hungry.
Maybe he looked at who he was going to have his picture.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Maybe he just said, hey, what the heck is this?
There we go. Has everyone got it?
Last one, a good one.
Here we go. Everybody say cheese or whatever. That's it, okay. You guys are going this way.
We're going to file back to that back room where we were so everyone gets a chance to do some interviews. So we'll go straight back.
Again, all members of the media are invited to the back room for one-on-one sessions with the honorees.
Want to do it in the back room?
They're going to get a hold of them back there. We're going to have to wait half an hour to get them.
You want to do it in the back room?
Let us get the guys.
The back room in the back of the building.
We got to get them back and do the interview back there in the room. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We got to show them in the back if we can. We can do it in the back just so you
I'm old enough now that I was able to be on this committee.
You did a very nice job. You had a nice committee.
City of sports. So for me, this is huge. This is right up there with my Hall of Fame One 20-some-odd years ago, I've never thought this day would have ever happened for me. So I guess we've arrived. I guess it's been good sports. We've arrived. That's the nice way to arrive. It's nice that people take notice. It's always been a fun day. I want a serious comment. Go ahead.
First reaction, it was nice. I think it was this. I didn't know they had what we call New York New 100 or whatever. But I thought it was a very nice honor. And,
Yeah, I checked the list. There was Bill Shannon, no Phil Sam, Frank Gifford. I think did you get a chance to look at the list?
I didn't look at the list.
Okay, yeah, I'll be here.
He's not making a lot of mistakes. I was don't put the defense in. It's always been strong.
That's very true. Syracuse wouldn't have been along. Just to beat
Well, I just saw them play. I like it. If we can keep them together, it's going to be a heck of a team. Things are changing in the league. Going to the pros, 10 clean sheets. They like to make size, screens. They just need
Guys, can we get a threesome here? Right here. Who's the Seaver? Can we get a team picture? With the hands, you know, that, there you go, everybody, with the hands. Where's your there you go.
Here, want to get Phil's ring?
A little higher, guys. Phil, you need to look up. Got it. The Seaver.
They came, they gave a new Hall of Fame this year. Look at that. Look at it. It's got his name on it. But you have to show up to get those things.
You better be there this year.
This the year, I'm good. I already told them. Yeah, we got jellies right here.
No, that's fine.
Take a knee. You get it in a minute. You get it in a minute. There you go. Guys, turn around. Look what's behind you.
Hey, that's it. Holy cow.
The camera over there.
Yeah, but that was it. LT hide. Get out. Come a little closer, LT. I'm losing you. Don't be so humble. Losing who? LT behind you. Want me to kneel down, LT?
No, you're all right. I got you. So you part your hair a little bit different now.
Yes.
Hang on, guys, hang on.
You know what? He's the one that goofed you, too.
Oh,
Bill, give us a smile one time. One more, please.
Oh, come on, getting out of here. I'm trying to relax. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Now, where's Seaver? Where's that?
What do you want? What do you want, Phil?
Just wanted a couple questions with you.
In Buffalo this summer. Oh, this summer in Buffalo? Yeah. Made a great time. Their all-stars were awesome.
Yeah, they played pretty good.
What's that? Okay, you're all right? Yep. Okay, Yogi. First of all, what's been a lot of awards.
Hey! You know, they were having it, until you got the notice and everything was in the paper. I'm very happy. It's great anytime you get voted.
I know you're a modest guy, but I mean, why do you think you got such an impact on this city and really the nation?
I think the fans were great, the people were great to me here, and made a lot of friends back here. I've been living over here, New York. I live in Jersey though, but New York is just like another friendly city. The fans are great here, and my wife took a liking to it. I've been here over 45 years.
Actually coming up next week. He did not make Yankees. Anything you want to say about this? Like I said again, I do think
We didn't have that pitching staff either. We have Reynolds, Rash, Bob Turley, bad either. Yankees always tradition, pitching. We always did that late in the season, sometime when George Weiss was playing.
So you're used to the Yankees dominating, so this is like nothing unusual for you to have the Yankees winning all the time now.
I think Seattle and Oakland came along pretty good this year. They got some good young arms. They might give it a little trouble a little bit this year. You never know. It's a funny game.
50 years old. I used to figure out what do you think of that? Physically, it's that.
Who's going to say that to you? Like this? Tim? Can I do that? No, it's wrong.
I really felt
a bigger fight than the
it seemed like they had a pretty good team. They had a chance to make the playoffs. I don't regret it. And then again, sometimes I do. You know, Mr. Hess used to tell me, and we sat down and talked about it. We both cried over it. Mrs. Hess was there, and he did not want me to go. But as a ball player, sometimes, you know, you feel like you can still play, and you want to play, and you need to play. And so, given the situation of rebuilding, which you taught me,
Well, I'm just thinking, Bill Torrey, bankroll revenue. I don't know about it. From the draft.
Unfortunately, we don't see much of it. Although I do think I watched Islanders and Devils play yesterday. It was a real good game, and Islanders is a young team. Now got really good stable leadership from Long Island, so I really hope
Frank was surprised.
I'm not being critical, I'm just saying.
It's like in the outside.
Sorry about that. By the way, also, I'm a lifelong Islanders fan, so thank you so much.
I was just telling him, I watched them play yesterday. It was a good tie. They played Devils really well.
You ready? Check 1, 2. You got the microphone? Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Torrey, can I ask you a question? When you were developing the Islanders team, did you have a 5-year plan with Mr. Alba? How long did you expect it to take you to develop that team from where it was, which was not so good, to where it came to?
Well, you always know when you're starting from scratch that, and particularly when other teams are in a draft situation, they're not going to leave any of their better players for you to take. So you know what you're confronted with going in. But unfortunately for us, when we came along in 1972, the amateur draft in Canada for the next few years was a very bountiful one. There were an awful lot of good young players coming through. The draft then was a 20-year-old draft. Like today, we do it at 18, but then it was 20. So you could look down the road and you could see that there was good talent coming. So I just told our ownership that the draft was where we were going to concentrate. that it would take probably 3 or 4 years before there would be any real. Fortunately, it came a little sooner at 3 years, but the good news was we were right in our assessment that the amateur draft for the next 3 or 4 years was a real strong one.
So do you feel like your 4 or 5 year plan was correct then?
Yeah, in particular because we were coming into a market where the Rangers were obviously an old, dominant, successful team, probably 1-2 in the league. There were only 2 divisions then. We were put in the East Division with the Rangers, the Bruins, the Canadians. So you could look and see that you were going to be drafting first for the next couple of years without much doubt. So why not take advantage of it? Dennis Potvins and Bossis and Traches, they don't come along very often. So it was a chance for us to look down the road a little bit and hope that we were picking the right ones.
Do you think that hockey will see another team that will sustain 4 or 5 or 6 years of excellent play the way the Islanders did at that time period?
Well, I think it's much tougher today to repeat. I don't think there's any question. Free agency has changed professional sports tremendously. When I put that team together, I figured that was a team that could last because we were drafting 20-year-olds, and it was a team, if they panned out, that could last for 7 or 8 years without, a major change. You can't do that today. You can't guarantee that players are going to stay around for 7 or 8 years. So, and I from a fan standpoint and from a lot of ways, I think it's kind of too bad. It's great for the players, but it's tougher. It's tough to get a team together, but it's even tougher to keep it.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, man.